everyone. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. The Mahogany cast is back to talk about A Nashville Legacy. And we're just going to, jump right into it. So we have Bree here.
Hello, everybody.
And Jazzman.
Hey.
And Dory's here.
Hi, everyone.
And I didn't say, I'm Anne. I'm
Our
here.
Fearless leader.
Hey, girl.
So the first thing is that I thought we should talk about is when the promo came out for this movie, we have a chat, a text group chat, and, we sent it there, and then we started talking about the promotion and how we felt about it. So I kind of wanted to share with the listeners a little bit about that, and then kind of, since we've watched it now, kind of compare, do we think that was a good reflection of the movie that they promoted, or do we still think maybe it wasn't? So just let me know what you first thought about the promos that you saw, and then after seeing the movie, do you think it was a good reflection of the promo and also the poster, since she's the only one on the poster and that's kind of odd? You can also, say if you thought that was a good thing or you thought it reflected the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of let me know what your initial thoughts were versus after watching it for the promotion. Go ahead, Bree.
I mean, I honestly hadn't seen anything until I can't remember who, but it was, thankfully our group chat. That was when somebody put the link to the YouTube video in there or what have you. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I saw it. And then as far as the poster, I saw it, I think, and I think, again, it was in our group chat. One of y'all put it in there. And I, went on Twitter and I was like, I'm confused. Like, is this a romance? Is it women's fic? Like, is it more about her journey than the romance per se? That's fine. Like, I'm cool with that, And then I guess the writer who did the rewrite, or just the writer in general, who is a writer that I think is safe to say we all love the movies that she's written for Hallmark, came back and said it is very much a romance, please show up and, enjoy it and support these actors. And it's like, definitely going to do that. But I'm a little confused because this poster did not look like the rest of the posters for the lineup in this movie. Why is she by herself? And I just think that, I mean, we're all readers here. So coming from, if a book has a cover that you're not interested in, you're going to walk by it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's the same thing with film. Like, that is so much part of the packaging. Like, you have a couple of seconds to have somebody decide if they're going to watch that movie or not. And this movie, the poster did not reflect that there was any kind of love story or anything involved in this, which it's like, okay, if I'm in the mood for her journey, her story, I will show up for that. But if you're wanting a romance, especially because it's a lineup for February, it's like, is that there? Like, I just think the cover was so misleading. I don't know. What do you think, Dory?
I have a lot of thoughts. So the promo initially, like the video promo, really threw me for a loop. It felt very dramatic. It felt like there was kind of a lot of family drama and like this Nashville dynasty and, talent not getting paid and all of this stuff. And it threw me for a loop because, like you mentioned, Bree, like there was no real hint of a romance. And like all of us are very much in this for the romance, Right. So I was very confused. And when it came to the post, like the still image, the poster promo, that confused me even more because the whole like trailer had been this like family drama saga stuff. And then you look at this image and it's just her.
With some headphones, and I don't think I saw her with headphones on in the movie at all.
Right. She's not a musician. So, like, that confused me too. And I did not understand what I was going to get with this movie.
Right.
And the movie ended up being, I think, completely different from both of those promo pieces. The movie, like, did not really give me the drama necessarily that I was expecting from the trailer. And there was some romance. So it would have been nice if the poster was the main couple. I understand why it wasn't, because it very much was more about her journey and
Mhm.
her kind of uncovering a mystery, essentially. So I understand why the poster was kind of focused on her. But what I totally agree with, Bree, is that like this is February. We got all of these great Love-uary movies. And so that's kind of what I expected for the Mahogany movie. And honestly, that's what I wanted for the Mahogany movie.
That's what I wanted too.
I wanted the love story with a Black couple. Like, that's what I really wanted. So I was very confused when this is what we got. And this isn't to knock the movie, because we're going to get into it, and I did enjoy it. It just was not what I was expecting. And I'm very confused about a lot of Hallmark's kind of marketing choices with this movie.
What did you think, Jazzman?
I agree with you always. I totally agree. This has, like, from with the material that we have presented either through the group chats or what we saw online, it was definitely not coexisting, was not meeting. It was like mixed messages. Like, they were promoting one movie, they started feel like from one script, and then they started with another script with another promo. Like, which is which? And mind you, we did see snapshots of behind the scenes of them doing promos together. Pictures. I'm like, they could have used that as part of the cover. And I'm like, man, like something, or hold a record, the song on there. We could be like, ooh, what's this about? Like, did they do a duet? Like, what's going on? That would have got us more intrigued into the movie. But it definitely was, no one did not sit down with each other. I felt like it had a conversation how to market this. And it was marketed very late in the game. Like,
yes, true.
The week of the movie leading on, compared to other Love-uary movies where they're advertising for good 2 weeks straight, going hardcore.
Yes. And I wanted, like, I'm so happy you said that, Jazz, because I was thinking about that before we hopped on and recorded. I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, you can tell when Hallmark knows and believes they have a hit. If it's one of those wedding veil movies, you're hearing about it like a good month before the movie comes out.
100%.
This one, if it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't even have known that it was coming. But like you said, it was like the week of that they really started boosting it.
And on top of that, I definitely want to like make this known that why would you put this movie, the last movie, 2 days before ending Black History Month? But you're talking about Black History Month and pumping all the Mahogany movies out. Honestly, this should have been the first week this movie should have been aired.
Yeah.
And it aired Nikki and Andrew's mystery movie the third week. We had Super Bowl the second week, and the third week could have been like a fluke of catching up with other movies. But other than that, I'm like, this was bad planning, poorly. And it's not even going against the cast or the crew who worked extremely hard on this film. It's just behind the scenes and marketing style that really affected how this movie could have been a great film.
Totally agree.
And you can't help but see all of the woke comments. And I'm sitting here like, baby, this is not it. Okay.
It's been crazy online. I'm keeping it real with y'all. It's been crazy online where I was over there crying through text messages with y'all. I was like, I can't. Like, this is like, what is happening?
Like, yes, you have this movie with an all-black cast, but let's actually dig into who wrote the movie. Like I shared with you all, like, how Mahogany is it when the script was originally by a white male writer and then it was rewritten by a white woman writer? Like, how Mahogany is Mahogany? I was under the impression these stories were going to be by Black writers. Maybe that's a misstep of mine.
No, I think that, well, first let me just say, I agree with you ladies. I thought the promo was just so dramatic and it made me not want to watch the movie.
Agree.
Yes.
And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I forgot to say that it really made me not want to watch the movie, honestly.
It just seemed like so much drama. And I have my own, issues with trust and stuff in my life. So like the whole like legacy built on lies and like all this drama, I'm just like, I don't want to watch this. Like, my life has enough drama. Like, I don't need to like tune in and like get stuff of my own stuff stirred up by watching this, because the promo was just so dramatic. So it didn't make me want to watch the movie. And I think that you guys are right. The poster didn't align with, I mean, it was more her story, but just what she was doing in the poster, the colors, it just seemed so happy and bright. And I wouldn't really
Yes.
describe this movie as happy and bright. So
Yeah,
No.
no.
I think the promotion was just not aligned, like you guys said, with what the movie actually was. And so here I'm going to read the description, the cast, the writers, the director, so we can talk about, the people involved in this movie. So the description was, Namia moves to Nashville to uncover secrets about an undiscovered music group. Starring Andrea Lewis, Pooch Hall, Stan Shaw, and Roz Ryan, with cameos by Kurt Chambers and Ruben Studdard. Writers Randall Jansen and Nina Wyman, director Roger M. Bob. So these are the people involved in this movie. And I think that Mahogany misled us, because I know that for me, like after Unthinkably Good Things, which had, black cast, black director, black writer, I kind of was like, okay, they're intentionally setting the tone with this movie, because they're like, this is what Mahogany is. It's authentically black, celebrating black love, black people. And so I stopped. The next movies, I wasn't checking like the writer and the director.
Same.
And stuff
Yeah,
like that.
same.
Like, they've set a precedent. And so tell me what you think about that. Let's start with Dory this time.
I completely agree with you. I was under the impression that because, from the announcement, honestly, that they were going to do this series of Mahogany movies, I was under the impression that these were going to be black stories written by black writers, and that there would be an emphasis on, casting black talent. And I was hoping that black directors would be involved. I was hoping that there would be a push for black crew members. Like, that was the impression I got from because there was so much hype and buildup around this announcement, right? And like Hallmark has been battling these, complaints and frustrations about their lack of diversity for years. And so I felt that they were really going to like come out with a bang with this series and kind of like answer to their critics. And it hasn't felt like that, it has slowly lost momentum in my mind ever since Unthinkably Good Things. And it makes me sad, and it really disappoints me, to be honest.
So from what we know, right, correct me if I'm wrong, we have Unthinkably Good Things and The Holiday Stalking were both written by a black writer. Is that right?
Correct.
And then To Her With Love was not, and now this one was not. My husband's an aspiring screenwriter, and he's tried to like break it down to me. Like at the end of the day, it's a business. If you're writing a script, you don't really care who picks it up. Somebody picked up my script. I'm getting my check. I've moved on. But I think it's important. I think we should share, like, it's important to us, right? Like, once we had that conversation where it kind of came out, where we all like did the research and we were like, wait a minute. This is not like a couple of these movies have not had black writers behind the scene. Luckily, for this one, Nashville Legacy, the director was black. Mm-hmm. So that was good news. But I just, when we had that conversation, it's like when you thought back to Unthinkably Good Things and you thought back to The Holiday Stalking, there were moments in those movies that you could feel a black writer wrote this.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you thought, I know in my case, when I thought back to Her With Love, loved the movie, but I was like, I didn't have that same feeling with those two movies.
Right.
And with this one, I'm conflicted because there's so much history in this movie that the feeling is like, oh man, I can tell that whoever wrote it really did their work, did their research.
They did their research.
Definitely. But even still, I don't know. I could see that this was once written as something else, and then someone came in and changed it. But it still didn't have those moments of like Unthinkably Good Things or The Holiday Stalking. Those few moments where somebody says something or whatever that you're like, a black writer wrote this. Like I think in Unthinkably Good Things, it was that moment where she says something along the lines of, I've always had to work twice as hard or whatever, you know, she's like a professor, right? And we watched it and we were like, I know what she's talking about. I didn't really have that moment with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense at all?
No,
Absolutely.
it does.
Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. What do you think, Jazzman, about the writers, the cast, the everything?
It definitely is alarming. Like, we understand it is a business. I agree with you ladies wholeheartedly. I feel like if they were really trying to push, Black writers, Black directors, at least pair the writers with someone who is their counterpart at least. And, say, okay, we do have a Black writer on this movie, on this film, but also we have someone coming in for any type of, cleanup or any type of rewrites or any type of working together as a partnership in that sense. Because right now, this is the fourth film. Right now, I'm looking at a two, Black writer. I'm looking at two white writers, and not knocking it, but I'm looking at like how they're doing their formula with these movies. Are they just the scrap movies that we're picking up, trying to dust off? And
yes,
it shouldn't be that way. We should be having these authentic writing movies. It could be funny movies, it could be dramatic movies. Give us everything in between. Like, we are here for the content, but you got to produce this content and listen to the fans, listen to your watch viewers. Like, we're seeing these movies, but you got to hear us. Like, get us in a focus group. We're here.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
And that's kind of what the conversation that we had, I was just like, wow, like there's probably so many people, like my partner who Hollywood, New York, whatever. I hear screenwriting is just as hard to get into as becoming an actor. But I know that there are some Black screenwriters you could have had on board to do this,
I know. I mean, I'm going to tell you a real issue I've had, because I'm sure that the party line, at Hallmark would be, well, we couldn't find a Black writer to do this, or we couldn't find a script from a Black writer that we thought would work, and I just don't buy that. And I also feel like there's a real opportunity here. Hallmark churns out more movies than any network. It has to every year. Between Christmas and the rest of the year, there are so many movies that they produce.
Yeah,
every weekend, right?
Definitely.
Why isn't there some kind of diversity program or initiative for writers? Why aren't you nurturing this talent? Why aren't you giving them the opportunity to become Hallmark writers? Then they're in the Hallmark world, and they can be the ones who are helping do rewrites, and they can be the ones who are helping to come up with your Mahogany movies and other movies.
Right.
And I've never understood why, if the excuse is the talent's not there, like the writers aren't there, then why don't you use your resources and your success and your incredible platform to nurture writers so that there are more writers? Like, I just feel like it's such a missed opportunity because they make so many movies. We're not talking about a network that only puts out 10 movies a year. It's every weekend.
Every weekend.
Like there
and
has
sometimes
to
of the
be-
year, multiple movies in that weekend.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like Hallmark Channel. Why aren't we doing stuff on Hallmark, more stuff on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, stuff on
Yes.
Hallmark Drama? You have 3 networks and tons of opportunities to help Black writers, writers of color, women writers. Like, why aren't we doing these things?
Yeah.
Because I'm just tired of the excuse that, you know, oh, we couldn't, you know, there just aren't that many Black writers who are doing this. That is BS. Like, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely not an excuse because that's just not true.
Because in the case of this movie, it really makes me wonder, what was the original script about?
Thank you. Like, okay, like mind you, remember the text that we were texting about? Like my concept of what I thought the movie was? I thought about 2 grandfathers start the business, and then somehow the grandfather died, and the granddaughter found out that he's connected to the, you know, the record company, and she's trying to get her justice about her father or her grandfather's legacy. Why is it not, you know, known? Like that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It just, I mean, knowing that Nina came in, and no shade to Nina, like she's a great writer, and everything that she's written that I know that I knew she was behind, you know, was great. And I think that she did a great job. I ended up enjoying the movie, you know, so I have to put that out there. But like, I just wonder, what was it originally about? I don't think it was originally about, you know, the African American, you know, Museum of Music History in Nashville. Like, I just wonder. It just makes me question, what was it originally about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do
Mhm.
wonder what the original script, what that looked like, the plot, the main points of it. If the people were white, like what it was. And I guess only those 2 will ever know.
Dun,
Or I
dun,
guess
dun.
whoever.
I know. Isn't that the thing? Like, what I wouldn't give to be a fly on that wall, like where a lot of these decisions are being made and discussed, because
Exactly.
we can only infer a lot of things. And so we don't know the inner workings and what's going on. We can only make judgments based on what we see.
Yeah.
And I would love to know kind of what's going on behind the scenes, because
And the
some of
interesting
these-
thing, just hearing you say that, is like, and I know we've all probably seen it between Twitter and Facebook or whatever, but like Hallmark still catches a lot of slack. Like I can't remember it was on Twitter, and somebody was like, I still miss the Hallmark days of Abbott being in charge. And I'm like, bro, how much has it really changed? Occasionally we have a gay couple. Like, get over yourself. We get one Black movie every couple months. Chill
the last
out.
week of Black History
Right.
Month.
I'm like, how much has it really changed? And not much.
I know. Let's celebrate Black History Month on February 26th. I will never get over that.
That was a really bad.
That was a choice.
Okay.
Right. That was the choice.
And a whole choice, Dory. A whole choice.
Like I said, it should have been the first weekend when everything was, you know, picking up that first weekend.
I agree. Come celebrate Black History Month on February 26th. I'll never get over it.
And somebody really dropped the ball on this this whole date picking. There was a ball dropped, and I don't know if they realized how bad it was, but it was real bad.
Yeah,
somebody really messed up choosing some of this stuff.
Yep.
Well, my favorite part of the movie was Nemia and Damien, and you know, their moments and conversations and their little dates, banter, which Nina writes good banter, and there was some of that, especially the beginning. So tell me, like, you know, what about their chemistry, Andrea and Poochall's chemistry? Like, what do you think about their chemistry, and about like their characters and like the date moments that you know, we got in the movie? What did you think about these 2, Jazzman?
It's just a meet cute for me. I'm just thinking back the first time I seen these actors, like, you know, Andrea Lewis. I seen her play Hazel on Degrassi. Like that was my girl. And then the first time seeing Pooch Hall, mind you, they both have their like shows going on the same network. Watching it on the end, which is Teen Nick now. because Pooch Hall, he actually was in the drama series called Miracle Boys. Just seeing them on camera together for the first time, their chemistry was just magical. I'm sitting here watching, like, I'm just having like Alicia Keys' song "Teenage Love Affair" in my head, like, you know, their first meet cute, and just it felt natural to me. It felt like, man, I'm like, you know, when they, you know, we asked her for the number, she was like, no. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm here for it. And then, you know, on campus again, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'm here for this connection. It was just genuine. It wasn't like forced on us. It was just like, just bringing their, you know, their history of like music together, trying to challenge each other, like, you know, having the kids kind of instigate, like, ooh, like, I was just loving it.
Yeah, what'd you think, Bree, about these two? What we got from them?
I mean, I thought their chemistry was great. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen, I guess, everything that was going on kind of overshadowed it a little bit for me at times. Like, I was just you become so invested in the investigating that she's doing, and you know, he's helping her out, and you know, he also has this larger than life. I felt like his dad reminded me of Smokey Robinson or something, but like this larger than life father, right? Like, when we had those moments of them just two like people hanging out in a diner or whatever, I thought it was really cute. But I just felt like everything that was going on, I think, overshadowed it. Like, at times I tended to forget that there was like a blooming romance between them.
Yeah, I do agree. Dory, what do you think?
I loved them together, but I thought the romance storyline was rushed, and I thought that it was I wanted more, I think. Because they truly went from that meet cute, which I loved, when she corrects him on the tour of the museum. I loved that. They went from that to them having that dinner and talking about how strong their connection was, and how, you know, it's fate and all of these things. And I'm like, it's been a week.
Right.
And we've barely seen y'all together. And yeah. But they had to do that because they had to fit so much into this movie, you know, like they needed to be a couple to then go solve this mystery, and she had to get to know his family and all the things. So I see why they had to do it. But I just think that as someone who really wanted a romance for this movie, it just felt a little lacking to me. But I thought the performances were great. I thought they were both really funny and really cute together. But yeah, it felt really rushed. I felt like we didn't get to kind of see them get to know each other, if you know what I mean.
Do you feel like if it was like a second chance romance, it's like something where there was already
100%.
built-in chemistry, it would have worked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or if they had like known each other from school, from their childhoods. I totally agree, Bree. Like, they needed, but for her to literally, it was her first day at the museum, and then, you know, later that week, they're like, you can't fight this chemistry, you can't fight this connection, you know.
Yeah. I really liked these two together. I thought the actors, Andrea and Pooch Hall, were really great. They had good chemistry. I just liked what they brought to their characters. And I liked like their little, you know, go get pie after the event, and, you know, go to, you know, Broadway, downtown Nashville, which, you know, I just lived there for 7 years. So I like that they showed downtown Nashville, because I was like, she's really walking downtown Nashville, and this is what the vibe of inside of a place on Broadway.
And they went line dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I loved that moment. That was my favorite moment.
Oh my
of the movie.
gosh.
It was so cute. I loved it too. It
was definitely the most fun moment, because I
Yes.
do feel like this movie, which I can understand to other people or just to anyone, how it would be slower, or maybe because, you know, they're really just walking and talking to different people. You know, that moment was one of the only moments where they're actually like doing something fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me personally, those are the moments I like. I like when they do a whole bunch of little fun activities together. And so it is a more slow movie because, they're just really walking back and forth talking to different people about this huge thing that they're trying to uncover and figure out what happened for her grandmother. And so the first hour was definitely my favorite because like about the 57th minute, that's when the conflict comes in, and then everything just gets very serious and not fun and just for me personally. So I think that the first hour when they were doing stuff together, that was definitely better, I guess, to me, my favorite part, because the conflict is that's a lot.
Yeah.
Which we're going to get into. But I do want to talk about they use the real new National Museum of African American Music in the movie, which, is really in Nashville. So what do you guys think about, the museum scenes and kind of what we saw, and even how the conflict, came in with the museum? Do you think that makes the museum look bad since they use the real name? Or do you think it doesn't matter? It's just cool they use the real museum? Or, what do you think about that, Bree?
I loved that they showed the real museum. I hope people that go to Nashville go on downtown and go down there. I've never really been to Nashville. Like, I've driven through it. And when I think of she was so in love with girl groups, I think of girl groups from the 60s and 50s, and I'm always so stuck on Motown, right? And I lived in Memphis in high school, so I think of the music scene there. I tend to forget about us and our culture in Nashville as well. So I personally really appreciated spotlighting the history, the footprint that we've left in that city. Because when you think of Nashville, you think of big white country stars, but it's oh, we've been there too, So.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Jazzman, about the museum?
I thought this was so important that they showed the real museum instead of a fake museum, because the museum has been up for, I think got built right before the pandemic. So I'm telling myself I need to go to Nashville. Mind you, I've never been to Nashville. That's on my bucket list. All the great, you see the Grand Ole Perry, see all these different places, but to see and have that museum is so important because Black artists, especially Black blues, country artists, jazz, you name it, has been a part of the music genre for decades, for eons. And it's very important to highlight that because there are country artists who are Black, who are, Hispanic, Indigenous, artists who are out there trying to make their way into Nashville. And it's very important for anybody to know their history in music. If you're going to be in these genres, to know where these artists find their inspiration from. And it's important to highlight the unsung heroes.
I loved that they had a Black country singer when they were dancing. We'll talk about that
later, sis, because
oh my gosh. Yes.
What do you think, Dory?
I loved that aspect of the movie. That might have been my favorite aspect, actually, was all of the museum. I loved all the museum scenes. As usual, when one of these movies takes place in a museum, I want more of the museum. But then I understand that they can't just take us on a full tour of the museum because people need to go visit. So I get it, but I'm always a little mad because I want to see more. Yeah. So I loved that aspect. I loved that she was getting her PhD in, what was it? Ethnomusicology. I loved that they talked about the history of, the Black influences in jazz and blues and country music. And, I grew up, my dad was a huge music lover. And he loved the blues. That was his thing. He loved the blues. So I grew up listening to a lot of blues music and old country and
old school country.
Yes,
beautiful.
Old school country, George Jones and Charlie Pride and all the things. And
Patsy Cline.
Of course, and he that was just such a part of my life growing up, and he loved jazz too. So that part of the movie really had my heart. It really made me want to go check out the museum. I've been to Nashville and I love it. It's honestly one of my favorite cities in the US. I think it's so fun. And for me, it was really unexpected because when I went, I thought it was just a country music town and like that's it. And there's just so much more there, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm glad that they highlighted the museum, and I don't think hopefully there will be no negative blowback on the museum. They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was all for a movie. It was made up. Everyone go visit.
Thank you.
It was look, how many movies have we done at freaking Graceland? Get over yourselves, people.
Okay, they can go on to Graceland. Like,
and as someone who has lived in Memphis, Graceland is not in a safe neighborhood. So nobody just goes to Graceland.
It's ghetto?
It is literally.
I did that meme in my head about, you know, the boy going through like the park, like, I'm in the ghetto. Ra-ta-ta-ta. Going to Graceland in the ghetto.
It is not in a nice neighborhood, people. Sorry.
No, I remember we were driving up because my parents and I went to the Hallmark event just like in, I guess it was 2019. And I remember we were driving up and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to see Graceland in like 3 minutes on the GPS. And I'm like, this doesn't seem like a very good time. And then you see Graceland and then you see like this huge like center they've built. But I mean, because they just built it where the house was, you know, across from the house. But it's like, yeah, it's not like a safe or like, you know, tiny, pretty, sparkling, you know, neighborhood or part of town. So
if we can, you know, if we can have all these Graceland movies, we can do one at the museum in Nashville. Chill out, people.
Amen.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that they did, you know, show the museum and, you know, show us inside the museum and just, you know, her volunteering there as, you know, an aspect too. And I think it's just cool because, yeah, I didn't get to see it before I left because it was like it came right for the pandemic. And then I was having a whole bunch of stuff going on in my life. And then I had to prepare to move here. So, you know, so I didn't get to go. So I hope when I go back to visit, I'll be able to go. But I thought it was really
a road trip.
I know that would be so fun because Nashville is an amazing city. It's fun.
It's great.
It's full of music and food.
I want to eat the food.
It's great. So, but I thought it was cool that they did show it in the movie. I mean, yeah, it's a movie, so we just have to remember, like, because the whole conflict, you know, he's a big, you know, contributor to this museum, but obviously that's not a real thing, and we just have to separate that from, you know, from the real museum. But I thought it was cool to see that. So that was definitely a good part.
Because you enjoy escaping into Hallmark movies, we're pretty sure you're going to enjoy another podcast called Criminality about celebrities.
Specifically, reality personalities behaving badly in business, crime, and just generally.
Criminality is a show about the intersection of true crime and reality TV, hosted by good friends and lovers of bad TV, Melissa and Rebecca.
Every other Friday, they bring a new story about a reality TV star and their brush with crime, legal troubles, and trashy scandals.
On Criminality, you'll go way beyond the headlines with episodes about some of the OG reality stars like Anna Nicole Smith, Kim Kardashian, and Tarek Al Moussa.
And if Bravo is your reality TV flavor, you're in luck because they keep up with the endless tea pouring out from nearly all the Housewives franchises.
The fun never stops as Melissa and Rebecca remind us all that loving reality TV is not a crime.
Catch new episodes of Criminality every other Friday wherever you listen to podcasts and visit criminalityshow.com for more information.
That's criminalityshow.com.
So in the movie, you know, there is this conflict because, oh my gosh, now I forgot his name. I know Jazzman remembers his name.
Oh, Mr. Barry, Mr. Barry.
Hall?
No, the guy,
Damien.
the security guy at the
Reggie.
Reggie. Okay, Reggie. So Reggie kind of plants this bug in Namia's ear about this group, you know, the Daffodil Girls. And so then she just can't let it go. And then she just starts, you know, discovering more stuff. You know, she starts asking questions and getting, you know, kind of this rumors and kind of like, oh, well, you could find more information from this person or from this archive. You know, then she sees, you know, a picture and she sees, oh gosh, Roz Ryan. What was her name in the movie?
Oh, Olivia.
Olivia. And she sees, Olivia in the picture. So then she wants to talk to Olivia. And, we're kind of, she goes back to talk to her about 3 times because she does not want to talk about it because I'm sure she's, at that point signed some kind of thing saying she couldn't talk about it. And, she doesn't want to dredge up all this stuff. And so, it's, thankfully, I am glad they at least saved us. Nina saved us at least by having Damien tell Nemia earlier in the movie that, that was his dad, or that Mr. Barry Hall was his dad, because I think that just would have been way worse if she found out, oh, this is your dad. And, this crazy thing he was involved in, knew about, happened. So I was glad that at least that part of the conflict was, earlier and it wasn't blown up out of proportion or anything.
Right. That was some drama.
But yeah, it was already enough drama going on. So, and then we have a twist in the conflict. Just like, so obviously this was my worst part of the movie. The whole movie, I'm just waiting for the legacy built on lies, just blaring in my head. I'm just waiting for this grenade to just go off. And so I'm just like impending doom over my head as I'm watching it. But,
which is thanks to the promo. Thanks to the promo, guys.
Thanks to the promo. It's just like going in my head. Legacy built on lies. I'm like, what did he do? Who did he not play?
That plot twist I was not expecting at all. But when they showed the plot twist, I was like, it made sense.
Why do you say that?
Because especially back in that era, especially like the 50s, 60s, going to 70s, especially if you are a church going, especially if you're like going to church, you can't listen to that secular music. You hear our grandparents, growing up, or your parents, like, you can't listen to that secular music.
Yeah.
That's the devil's music. And you got in trouble for that too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when it made that connection, I'm like, wow, that was what I was not expecting at all. I really thought that Barry really did them really dirty. But he kind of really did because that whole NDA situation happened with the parents and stuff. But he could have gave them some credit. And also, I really thought in my heart, in my soul, that the third daffodil was Barry's ex-wife. I'm very upset that did not happen.
Oh.
Is that where you were going with this, Anne?
I was going with that during this whole mystery. Like, because we never have to see David's mother, because remember they got divorced. They got remarried. So I'm thinking, like, maybe the third daffodil is his mom.
And his poor stepmom was just somebody thrown into the script. Bless her heart. Bless her heart, Lord.
This white woman. And then I'm like, oh, this is like the stepmom. And I was like,
I thought she was a secretary.
I thought she was, I thought,
was he supposed to be mixed at first? I'm like, oh, okay, I like this. And then he calls her Priscilla. I'm like, okay, Elvis. I'm like, why? We could have gave her something more. Like, she just was there.
Yeah. We never saw them together. Like, we never saw the stepmom and the dad together.
He's right there. Come on. Give Priscilla some agency.
But where I was going with all that is, what did you think about this conflict, how it was handled, how it, takes parts of, history that, really did happen to, I'm sure, several, different people, maybe that, in different ways where they weren't paid, their royalties, or they weren't paid a correct wage or a good wage for what they were actually doing. But where people were really, truly mistreated and led and misguided and that kind of thing, especially in that time. What did you think about the conflict they chose and how they executed it and the twist? I can come back to Jazzman if you want to say some more, but
yeah, come back to me, girl. Come back.
Okay. We know Jazz. Let Dory go first. Dory, you go.
Like I said, Dory, yeah, go ahead.
Because I got to get my life together. Because I was like, thoughts together. What?
I know. It really made me think about just all the musicians over time who haven't gotten their due, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there are so many stories like this of
like Chuck Berry passed away broke,
Right. And you just think of all these people who have so much talent and passion and for tons of reasons never make it. And I think that I loved her kind of dissertation topic of, the inequity there and how girl groups were all the rage and had all these hits, and meanwhile they weren't getting paid what they were, worth, and they often got signed into these really horrible contracts that would exploit them. And I think that is still happening in music today, right? We still hear stories today about artists being exploited. So I did think that was an interesting conflict on its face. I think in the movie, it did not work for me because he did not do right by them until 2 of the original daffodils were dead.
Exactly.
And that really bothered me. The whole time I was just thinking, y'all have really kept this secret for decades. Like your fathers who objected to this are long gone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're still refusing to talk about it, pretending like you don't know. Just pretending that like this is just a rumor that has been going on when it's clearly very traumatic. Like, I didn't buy it. I mean, Barry Hall at this point in his career, I mean, from what we heard in the movie, he became very successful very fast. What were their fathers going to do to him at that point after he had gained all this success? I mean, and what would it have hurt to give them some extra money to...
Dude, you gave him $500.
I know. And it just the conflict, why the fact that it was kept a secret for so long is what didn't work for me. I can understand all the things. These were teenage girls, their fathers still would have to, they're in the church. Their fathers would still have to like sign off on them doing any work. They were minors, I'm sure. So I understand how it became a conflict and even became a secret, but not for this long. And after he had all of this other success, it's like, okay, yes, this was that one song where all of this drama happened, but you've had all this other success too. Like, no one's going to think that your legacy is built fully on lies, especially if you do right by this group. Like, I didn't buy it. I just didn't buy it.
Yeah, I really agree. Bree?
I agree. I think I was thinking, because a lot of times, I'll be ready to riot, and then I'm like, you're coming at this from a 2023 very privileged person, right? I have to remind myself times are different. But yeah, there was something that didn't. I felt like that moment when the dads walked in, I totally get it. Like, they are 3 young Black girls in the South in the 60s, clearly teenage girls in this room full of grown men, did not need to be there, but, had beautiful voices, were beautiful as a group. That moment it was a little underwhelming for me, but at the same time, I'm just like, it kind of also reminds me that how we cannot be put into a box just because my parents always let me listen to whatever I wanted. I know that's not the case for every other Black girl, and especially, I guess, in different times. And Jazz, like you said, like, people didn't want their girls watching Elvis. Like, they used to film him from like the waist up because, he used to do his hips and stuff. I mean, but I never really have heard, and none of my family has ever been like, you can't watch this, you can't read this, or you can't listen to this. So that part was just a little weird for me. But also, I was not a young Black girl in the South in the 60s with like, we're going to church every weekend parents. So I tried to keep that in mind. But like Dory said, I think I thought a lot, the fear of a powerful man just kind of transcends time. Because like she said, like, why would you keep this secret for so long? Eventually you get grown. come out and say that's really me on there. But like the fear of a man with money. And then I also think in our community, we don't want to be haters. Like we don't want to hate on this person that came up. But like it is your voice on the track. It wouldn't exist if it weren't for you.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know. It did, like you said, it did a lot of important things. I wholeheartedly like believe that. Like, yeah, it probably definitely still happens. We know for sure it happened way more than unfortunately it should have back in the day, back when, you know, people didn't have the access to resources and things that we do now. But it didn't hit, I think, like it intended to in this movie.
I know. And I agree with you that like I understood Olivia's silence more than I understood Barry Hall's silence.
Because he didn't really do he wasn't that bad.
Right. And like I really do feel like the onus was on him as a man with power to fix that situation.
Yes.
Like he had all the resources, money, connections, power to fix that. And he didn't. And I mean, listen, I guess that's a tale as old as time too. Yeah. So you know what? Maybe it makes perfect sense. Now that the words are coming out of my mouth, I'm like, you know what? Happens every day, you know?
It sure do.
Yeah. Jazzman?
So I'm going to stand by my first statement, what I made earlier. Exactly. I agree. I agree with you ladies wholeheartedly. But no, this happens every day. Like I was joking about it earlier. If this movie basically, if Motown and Dreamgirls had a baby, it is a Nashville legacy. Mm-hmm. Like that's how it is. Like it happens every day. Like when we were talking about how the Cup Girls were singing over the Daffodil song. No shade to J-Lo though, but sis, you know that was just stealing $1 million on that one song and Ashanti on those tracks. You were over there singing. Come on. Yes. It happens every day. Like groups, like different songs are being recorded by our other counterparts to get more money because how they're marketed. Like these things happen every day, but it was just shitty how these things happen in real life where on their deathbed or going towards the end of their life, I want to do right by them. I thought he should have been done right by them a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I was really sad that 2 to 3 or more passed away before getting their dues. Like this happens a lot. And it's just wrong.
Yeah.
You know? And at the end of the day, it's like, we got to do better, especially in the music industry, like especially for women as well. Get these women, especially these backup singers, give them their due diligence, give them their monies, and like really give them some credit. Because right now they're still fighting for their credits, still probably to this day, fighting for their masters. Like even though some males are, but especially women who are the backbone, who are doing vocals, doing the writing.
Oh my gosh, y'all know that that Jamaican sister Nancy? What? Bum 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 bum. She didn't know. Like, you know how many times you've heard that song in a movie? She didn't know it was being used like that until like a couple of years ago. And she's still living. You know, so like you said, Jazz, like still very much happens, you know.
Like literally, like for instance, like I got, during the pandemic, back in my country life, because actually, fun fact, I actually had a great uncle. He passed away like back in 2004, but he actually was a country artist and a cowboy. Actually, his name is Andy Midnight Cowboy Rogers. He actually has a Wikipedia page, by the way, you guys.
That's awesome.
Legit. But it kind of made me think of like,
I love a cowboy.
He did independent though, but it made me think of this one artist that Reese Palmer. She's actually a black country artist. She has a podcast called Color Me Country Podcast. It's based off a self-titled album by Linda Martell. She's like the first black female country artist, but they nicknamed her like the first female Negro country artist back in like the late 60s, early 70s, coming around the time, Charlie Pride was coming up. And she got blackballed in the industry because, even though she had a chance on her in the industry, she was still getting the racial calls, all this different stuff. But they were trying to backball her because of like money issues, stuff like that. But no one heard about her until other country artists were lifting her up. Like she, even if you like listen to see other country artists talking about these individuals, like you see the big guidance out there, you see, everybody else who's coming up, like the Kane Browns, the Jimmy Allens, like they're uplifting these country artists who are not getting their due diligence. And finally, she got an award, like, was it 2 years ago, for being, like, it was for the Equity Play Award for Country Music Awards. Mind you, this is 51 years after she quit the business for the blackball. And this woman could have been a great asset to country music, but during the, monopoly of it all, during the money, during, the racial tension during that time, especially as a female, she played at the Grand Ole Opry, the first black country artist. Like this, and you're wondering why do we need to know this history? Why do we need to know this? Why there this conflict? Because these unsung heroes need to be heard.
Yeah.
And what about their legacy? Everybody's legacy is very important. Doesn't matter how small it is, how big it is. They make key plays of what it is today.
It matters, yeah. And what did you think of the conflict? You tell us what you thought of it.
Girl.
I think that promo just really messed me up.
True, yeah.
I was so convinced that his dad was the main person in the wrong, and I cannot stand a prideful person. I even tweeted, and Nina responded to me. She's like, everything is not as it seems, because I said, Mr. Barry Hall, lower your pride. When he was like in the office with her, and he was like, you need to like stay out of this business, and you're going to mess up years.
Let sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that is not what you do. She has to find the root of this, and she needs to. These people deserve to be seen and to be heard and to be known what they did. And so I kind of felt like it almost felt like a cop out to me, because I was like, I just knew that he was the one who did something. And so then when it was like really like another man's pride, these pastors, whatever, that they're the ones, saying like, you can't, do this for our daughters, because, they're underage, and we're making sure this shuts down and doesn't happen. And I just didn't like it. I think the one good thing is I think it does help us remember and highlight that we're in a very different time, and things are not how they were, and that many people were, as I said before, like misguided, mistreated, and not paid what they were owed, or what they should have been paid, or how they should have been treated.
Yeah.
I think that was a good reminder, but it was not what I was looking for in this movie. I wanted something romantic and sweet and fun, and that is not what this movie was. So I wanted something completely different than this movie.
And I think of like why they didn't say anything eventually, but you think about it, like music changes so fast, right? The sound of the 60s was only like doo-wop-ish, I think, for a little bit. And then, when you think of the 60s, you're thinking of like rock and roll and, right. Woodstock and stuff like that. Yeah. And the Beatles mania. So it changes so fast. And especially during that time, I think the sound that the ladies had was kind of phasing out. I mean, you think of that, their hit, that's something you think of like the 50s and the 40s, so it was like phasing out. So they were probably just like, the time is done, is it even worth pursuing? Not thinking years later, it's still going to be a hit. It's still going to be a classic. Mm-hmm. It's still going to be worth making money off of. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Dory, I didn't think about that, the way you said that makes so much sense. Like, it's like, well, I mean, I wanted him to say it way earlier, but it's like, yeah, they were underage. So like when they became whatever the age was at that time,
right,
20, whatever. I don't know if it was 18.
Should have done something.
Do right by them.
Yeah, that time he should have said, the girls were underage, but everyone needs to know that they're the ones on this record. They were the ones who sang this song. And, this is what happened, because, it's like he tried to cover himself real well by giving out these scholarships and paying for, her restaurant, and, letting Namia, end up writing this whole book tell-all, explaining everything. And that's all well, fine, good. But it's like a day late and a dollar short. Like, this is so long ago.
Two of the girls are gone.
Two of the women are dead.
Like, this is like just way too late. And so I can see what they tried to like make up for it, but it's like, it's just, he should have said something way, 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 way earlier, so they could get those royalties and be alive and, be able to be recognized for their song that people people really took to, people really enjoyed.
And
So-
can I say one more thing
Mhm,
about exploitation? So I'm going to say this. Pay your
Same.
interns,
Yes.
okay? Because
yes.
that whole unpaid intern thing just really had me angry
That's-
because it's unacceptable it is unacceptable to do that in this day and age, in my mind. And I think it's very interesting because you can see how a Black family can fall behind in life as far as wealth, legacy, because you look at her grandmother, right? Who was in this girl group, never got her due, never got any money. That could have potentially changed the trajectory of her life and her family's life forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then her daughter and her daughter's daughter wouldn't be struggling. You know, it's made very clear throughout the movie that she does not have a lot of money. This is an unpaid internship. She's trying to work and hustle, right?
And girl, you're getting a doctorate. They are not cheap.
They are not
That's
cheap
the way.
either. But I was just like, as I was watching this, I was like, this is how generation after generation of people like can't get ahead. We have this grandmother who got essentially cheated out of everything she could have potentially earned for circumstances that were beyond her control. And then we've got her daughter or her granddaughter who still has to hustle and work for no money, even though she's brilliant and gifted and talented. And listen, I could go on a real rant about this, but I'm just going to say, pay your interns, pay people what they are worth, because this is how people fall behind, right? Because had her mother or grandmother had all that money and could have passed it down to generation, right? It wouldn't be such a big deal that she wasn't doing an unpaid internship. That's who unpaid internships don't affect people who have money to still live without getting paid. But that's not an option for so many people who need to work and need to make money. And so those awesome opportunities that are unpaid go to people who can afford it. And I mean, it had me so annoyed every time she mentioned being an unpaid intern. I'm like, pay this girl, pay her. She's worried about pinching pennies. She doesn't even want to like buy lunch, you know?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know if I can afford this pie. It just really bothered me. I was like, please pay your interns.
I think the beautiful, part of it, I was thinking as you were talking, was in the end, and like Naima, I want to say Andrea because that's her name, Naima, the character, was their champion, and she did give them the happy ending, even though two of them were gone. And like you said, like if her grandmother, if things would have worked out different, she wouldn't have to hustle so hard. And it's like, in a way, she does get that. It shouldn't have taken her.
It just
to
took
have
two
to do
generations,
that,
and that bothers me.
Right, right.
You know.
So
this
like
is
in
how
a
people
way,
fall behind. Like I totally agree. I love that she wrote the book in the end. I loved that scene, but it also kind of was like a knife to the heart, because how many of us are trying to like do the work of changing things for generations,
undo the work.
Exactly.
And also, we were cheated out of a kiss at the end of this movie, right?
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Wow. There's no kiss at the end of this movie.
We got a halfway movie kiss, and that was okay. Y'all, I thought I was crazy. I'm like,
I did too.
Y'all are going to talk about the end of the movie kiss, and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I saw it. No, and I didn't.
Okay. So I couldn't believe
they
it. I
didn't
was
do
like,
it.
wait, it's over. I was like, let me make sure I didn't miss something, like miss a proposal, quick kiss.
I needed him to like go on that stage and give her a kiss, like, congratulations, baby, you did it. Like, awkward ending.
Literally, because I was like crying throughout the last part, like the whole like 5-minute scene about like the war ceremony of the books, that I totally did not see a kiss. I'm like, wait a minute. did they really kiss or did I not kiss? I'm over here in tears. I can't see.
Look, like Dory said earlier, that was a choice.
That was a choice.
That was a horrible choice. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, I can't believe we only had like one kiss in this entire movie.
Yeah.
And it was rushed. That rushed diner kiss does not count. I kept waiting for a second kiss.
I know, because I'm not gonna lie, that first kiss, it was juicy. I was like, oh, like, is there gonna be more?
You
like,
thought we were getting another one at the end, and you did not.
Yeah.
I felt robbed.
That was taken from us.
Okay, I have to just say, I know we usually talk like one fashion moment of the movie,
but
I didn't really have one.
You didn't like any of the stuff that much?
No. Did y'all?
I like the dress. The red
sequin
dress
was cute.
I like
yeah.
that one that Olivia had worn.
Her sparkly dresses. I thought that she looked good in both of them.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Everyone was like gold and black, I think.
She's just she's so beautiful. I was like, I don't feel like they picked anything that felt her.
I know.
Yeah. What did you guys think about her hair or about just the hair in the movie? I guess mostly it'd be her because
loved her hair.
It didn't show.
Oh yes.
Besides
loved
Olivia,
her hair.
Yeah, no, her hair looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully they had some black people.
They did.
It looked like they did. So
they did because I was on Andrea's page on her IG. Like, though she had like black hairstylists and everything.
Okay. I know. I love seeing Catherine Davis's post like "Dream Team," and I was like, "Oh, she's got all black hair and makeup."
It makes a big difference.
It does. It matters, people. We're not just griping.
And you know what? A lot of recent TV shows are talking about having black makeup artists and hair artists out there to look like them to do their hair. Like Harlem talked about it. I know there's another show talking about like why we need to have like iCarly. Their cast was talking about how it's so important to have a black makeup hair artist in the room to do their hair. I'm like, what's going on? Like, it's a revolutionary thing going on right now, calling people out.
Yeah, on Harlem, they really did.
They so did.
Wow. The lady was just like, I think your hair's good. We don't need to do anything. She was like, what? In other words, you don't want to do anything because you probably don't know how. And so you're just going to make her do her own hair, which is not okay.
Yeah.
That's not part of her job. Her job is to show up, to do her best, acting, what is on the page, not to also try to do all that and do her own hair. That's unacceptable. So I really hope that the tide is turning and they will really start to, have, black hair and makeup people to do black people's hair and makeup for, shows, movies, all those kind of things.
Style-wise, did y'all feel like the way the girls were styled in the back in the day scenes, did it feel back in the day-ish to you? I see pictures of my gran and aunties in the 60s, and I'm like, where's this coming from? But I mean, they were in Chicago, so things were different. But did it feel like the 60s to you?
The clothing, yes, it did. Cause I know my grandmother, she made like my mom and like all my uncles and aunts clothing, so it did feel like I was like back in like the 60s, them outside, and they in their little shoes and stuff. I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but like literally, because even like The girls who were singing the song, they were actually real singers, a real girl group. So I was like, okay, they actually sing in that type of style, 60s style, which I was really happy that they actually got artists to do that on this film. By the way,
I was glad about that too. They had a real girls group to be the girls.
But the outfits for sure, like I feel like they could have been a little bit more better, but they did what they had on a budget, whatever budget they had.
Yeah, my feeling was meh. You know?
Yeah.
They were I wasn't like blown away, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful, and the clothes could have been better.
Yeah. I loved that I didn't realize that our security Reggie was little Reggie.
Dude,
that
I know.
was supposed to be
That
the
lookout. Still can't whistle. All these years later, still can't whistle.
Okay, I don't know the crazy twists and stuff that happened. That one really threw me for a loop. I was
Me
like,
too.
Reggie, what was the like? I thought he was like one of like the other guys that was downstairs in the basement. No, he was the one who couldn't blow the whistle.
And you know what? He's still loyal after all these years because he's the one that planted the bug in Naima's ear. Like, oh, there's this room called the Daffodils. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
But then he told her maybe back off.
He did.
When she started getting close, which confused me. I was like, you're the one who got her on this path, Reggie. Now you're saying slow down, sir.
That's kind of like being cautious. Be cautious, probably. That's just me.
Yeah.
But no, can we talk about the musical acts of this movie? Because they gave me life. They gave me life, y'all.
Kurt Chambers, Ruben Studdard.
Yeah.
That was definitely cool to have some little moments from them.
I like the music. I want the soundtrack.
I know.
I'm pushing for that, y'all. I was like, please. I'm like, please give us the volume 1 of the Mahogany like soundtrack, please. But no, it just made me happy because I put this on Twitter. I'm like, this is the first time they gave us a Black country artist in a Hallmark film, because any other country any other country, theme movie that we've seen or artists that were performing, it didn't matter if it was like a fake artist, but we never had someone of color being on that stage. And the fact that they gave us in this movie speaks volume that we are in these genres and we get down.
Yeah, everybody was enjoying themselves. They were like, that club was lit. Okay. That's what the young people say.
I wish you had a talking role though. I wish you had a talking role talk with Naima and Damien. That would have made like a kind of like a good thing, kind of like her interviewing him a little bit, like why he is in country music and stuff like that. Had that conversation. I would have brought out more of like why she's doing her project anyways. But she's focused on the Daffodils, but kind of like talk about it in her field, like even Rooster was in there, big old teddy bear.
I guess my like ending thoughts when I finished it was I always, and I told my husband this too, like I think about I think it was our second chat, and Dory, you had like one of my favorite points of all time. You were just like, it feels like we're on borrowed time. So it feels like we just put in everything that we can put in into each of these movies. Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that with this one too.
I did too. And I even felt like Jazz, when you were just talking about, you wish they would have gone more into like the history of Black performers in country and kind of that legacy. And I mean, I would love to see that too. And I feel like that should be its own movie, like I feel like there were so many aspects of this movie that could have been their own movie, a PhD student in Nashville studying music and falling in love. That could have been a movie, no mystery. Like
they could follow up with like in my mind, I thought like she would like, go there, get her degree, and she finds Damien, and throughout the whole like go to different like little club, like different music. Either it was like country, it could have been like jazz, anything like to set their tone of like their musical like heart, because he was a producer as well. Like they could have meshed together. They could have created some harmonies. Okay, they could have joked around in the studio with a song and just fell in love in the booth and had a kiss that could have been amazing. Let me write it, please.
Please, yeah, give us something cute and fun instead of heavy and hard.
Yeah.
Also, they really like. Honestly, I feel like this movie could have been on Hallmark Drama as a TV series, kind of like you have like the Dallases and stuff like that. It could have been a Nashville Legacy series, and it could have been like heavy hitters in the music. I would have been down for that.
I mean, I would be down for it, but don't.
I would have been.
You're getting ahead of yourself, Jazz. I don't think we're gonna get a series.
Yeah, we're not. But that's in like the near one day future. Like I'm just saying that could have been it.
If we do, I'd be so surprised.
Well, so unfortunately, I feel like for me, like this was my least favorite Mahogany movie so far. I think it just had the most drama that just overshadowed like the whole movie. And so, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it like the other ones, I guess, as much because I guess they were not so heavy. Even though the Holiday Stocking, that was heavy, but I really liked the ensemble cast and kind of what they had.
Yeah,
I still think about that scene at the end, y'all.
Oh God, me too.
I'm about to cry. Like
one of the best Hallmark endings ever, hands down. Come at me, bro, if you want to argue about it. But I stand for that ending. That makes you, every time I think of that movie, you think of the ending. And I'm just like, I'll watch it over and over again for that moment.
That part. But I'm not going to lie. I feel like the Nashville Legacy kind of reminded me of the Holiday Heritage movie when they had that same, kind of like that family conflict situation happening. And I was like, man, I really was enjoying this movie until like this, this plot. But I'm like, dang.
So this is okay because I know we're like way over time, and Rachel's gonna have a moment. Sorry, Rachel, but okay. I wanted to ask this. So I was watching this movie, and I'm like, who is this? Like, okay, I read a book recently by Jean Meltzer called Mr. Perfect on Paper. She had her big book, The Matzo Ball. She writes Jewish rom-coms. And like this last one, I felt like I enjoyed it. And I'm like, okay, it's very much for people who are not Jewish. Lots of information dumping out there, told through the perspective of a matchmaker. Really good read. And so I'm watching this movie and I'm like, is this actually for us? Is it trying to be a little bit for everybody? Or is it really for not us? Because I'm like, I was telling my husband, I was like, there's so much about this that we already know. We already know that a lot of our recordings were in some basement and we had to go through the back door to perform, before you got on stage in front of America. Like we already know that stuff. So what do you all like feel about that? I was like, am I thinking too much into this?
Like you're not thinking too much into that because, mind you, I actually love that little matchmaking movie. That was like lit. Like that was like one of my best like Jewish like.
Oh, it felt very that book felt very much like that movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just sitting here like it felt like it was supposed to be for us, but not for us for real. Like it probably for the white audience gaze of like understanding like the Black experience in I guess in Nashville. But I'm like it could have been more better. Like I feel like I need like a third writer on this film to actually give us authentic. Like it could have been a different way they could have explained, the music, like why she loved the music, discovering new artists. Like they could have been in the record store looking through different artists and
that record store, that record scene was so dope. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved that too.
Like it was just so retro. Just like you could have been in there looking at different art. Like we could have like saw them. It could have been amazing what they could have did with this movie of a legacy. Like how is legacy formed within music? Like everything. It was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
It truly was.
It definitely was a missed opportunity. And just, I don't know. It just felt like the least best one. That's not the right way to say that, but that they've released so far. So I hope in 2023 that we will get some better Mahogany movies.
My gosh, can we get a fun spring movie with like a Black heroine that owns like a flower truck and goes around selling flowers or something? I mean, something light and fluffy.
Something like
we had that same conversation conversation in our chat. I had a whole little storyline with that. This is what it should have been. It was called Secret Admirer. Don't take my idea. I'm watching everybody online.
Don't put it out there because somebody's listening.
Don't
right?
say it. You got to keep it secret till it's
I know,
ready.
I have all these Jews. They're not ready for it. They're not.
Oh, we're ready for it. We're begging for it. We're desperate for it.
Why is it that because I feel like, people listening, you guys just always want light and fluffy. Like, why do we want light and fluffy and fun?
Because
life is hard. Like
hard.
And I also think it's, why did we come to the Hallmark channel in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was for these romances. It was for, I know there's a lot of overlap. Like, I'm a romance reader. There's a lot of overlap in that community. Like, it's a similar desire, right, to want these romantic stories. And so, listen, there is so much heaviness in the history of Black people. There's so much heaviness that we contend with still to this day. And sometimes it's really nice to lay that burden down and just watch two people falling in love, you know?
Yes.
I learned recently about, it's called like transgenerational trauma, like descendants of slaves, people in places like Romania. Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah, Jewish people with the Holocaust.
Jewish people with the Holocaust. Yes, like, it's a very real thing, I think, for us to just be like, I don't want to watch anything heavy because I'm already dealing with heavy,
Right. It's literally in my genes.
Yes. From hundreds of years ago.
Exactly. Yes. I'm tired.
Make me laugh, okay?
Totally.
Yes. Make me smile, make me laugh, inspire me.
Make me swoon.
Yeah. Like, that's what we want. Just like a rom-com.
I know.
That's just fun. And I really hope we're gonna, that we'll get one.
Me too.
Yeah, probably only one in a whole year. So hopefully we get one at some point.
And Bree, I want to go back really quick to your point that you made before we started talking about rom-coms, because it really took me aback and I needed a minute to think about it.
Okay, I want to hear what
when you said, who is this movie for?
Yes.
You stunned me into silence. It was such an amazing question. I was like, now, wait a minute. Let me sit here with my thoughts for a second. Exactly. Let me get my tea. First of all, amazing question. And something that Hallmark needs to consider as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it comes down to the writing, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a Black person writing one of these movies, you're writing it for us.
Yes.
Just naturally. Mm-hmm. And with this movie, it felt like someone wrote it who had researched Black culture, but you can never write from that perspective. You can never write from your personal perspective like that if you're, researching a different culture or a different experience. And so I think a lot of it comes down to the writing. And I agree with Jazz's point, like, that's when you need to pair with another writer who does have that personal experience, a Black writer who has that lived personal experience, to add to your, really well done script that could have great historical information, but you need that personal touch. And I think that's why we all loved Unthinkably Good Things so much. It felt like for us for the first time.
Yeah.
And
even Girlfriendship, and it wasn't a Mahogany.
Girlfriendship too. Yes, 100%. Like, you can just feel when the writer is writing that for you and is telling you, she's telling her story, but her story is also your story in so many ways.
Yes.
And so, like, I think that's an excellent question, Bree. And I think it's one that they need to really be asking if they're going to continue with doing Mahogany. Like, who are we making these movies for? And therefore, who should we be having come on these projects,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that, because I'm sitting here crying. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm crying right now, but when I sit as a kid, growing up into adulthood, like watching these movies that, what our favorite actresses and stuff like that, no matter if, what color or race it is, like you're still trying to put yourself, even in a book, put yourself in those characters' shoes, and you're that character, you're acting out in these manners. But when I'm finally seeing someone where I don't have to place myself in those other shoes, where I'm seeing myself who looks like me, I want to feel those same reactions, those same mannerisms, of the culture. And I'm getting like the whitewashed version of it. I want to be all into it. I want to say, I get that joke. Even like we watched it, To Her With Love, like some of the jokes they were telling us, like, I got those, man. I got those. Cause we say that all the time within our family or with our friends. Like, I want to see the authenticity of our stories being told. Yes, we need to have them be paired either with our right counterpart so they can learn how we write, how we express ourselves. Because we could write a story though, but who's our target audience? Who's going to read it? Who's going to watch it? And also learn from it and be authentically open about it instead of just saying, okay, I'm writing the script. It's bland, but we're going to put these characters of different cultures in it and try to flare it up. No, make sure someone who's doing that rewrite is adding their culture into that, adding these mannerisms into these scripts so it could be authentic, that we say, okay, this is not whitewashed. This is from the heart. This is from the experience of a person of color in these films, in these writings, in these books.
It just needs to become the norm to have more diversity and more inclusion all the way around. Okay. We need more Black characters. We need more Latina characters. We need more Asian characters. We need more characters with disabilities, chronic illness. It needs to become the norm, period. And you need to have those own voices in the writing room. And I feel like Hallmark is probably in a bit of a crossfire because so much of their audience is the old school audience who doesn't like a lot of the direction that we're going through. But you know what? There's other networks, and sorry, honey, but the movies, them ratings haven't been that good. Sorry. Hashtag. So go over there if you want to. Report back and let us know what you think.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's at Bree unabashedly on Twitter. You can come find me.
Speak on it. Yes.
I was going to say that exactly what you said, Bree, is, that every, if it's a movie about, Black people, it should be, have Black voices. If it's a movie about Latinas, it should have Latina voices or, Latin voices. And if it's, a movie about an Asian, family, it should have an Asian writer. Like it, if it's a movie about someone with special needs, they should take, some, what'd you call it? Have a, someone who works with them who does have that special need, who can, give to that story, because it matters, like the Dayspring movies, they should be written by people who are Christian. The Jewish movies, it's so much better and authentic, and they should be written by people who are Jewish. It bleeds through so much, like you're saying, when it comes from a person of that, race or religion or culture. And that's just who needs to be in the writing chair and, in the writing room of these movies.
And I think too, just calling it as I see it, living in America, most of our population is growing to be biracial. We need more biracial characters, have biracial writers in the writing room too. Just saying.
I mean, I say that because I am. So yeah,
I have a white stepmother. I will go to the ends of the earth for her. My siblings are mixed. I want to see them reflected too. I want to see, they know what it's like to be told you have to pick a side. No, I don't. I'm both, so.
Right. That's somebody told me that when I was in second grade. Blew my mind. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
And, like, I'm just a child and you're saying you have to pick one race. Like, what is happening? Yeah.
Right.
Goodness.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to go into it, but so I will read the description so you guys can look out and see how early they start promoting this movie when we finally get some promos and posters. But there is an April Mahogany movie, and it's called Spring Breakthrough, starring Keisha Sharp, Demetrius Gross, Ryan Nicole Brown, and Akano Dixon, and it premieres Sunday, April 30th on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. The description's kind of long. This is what it says. Single mother Monica Rollins, Sharp, excitedly waits for her daughter Vivian Brown to come home for spring break, their annual tradition. Days before, after years of tireless dedication to her job, Monica is unceremoniously fired. To make matters worse, Monica is dealt with a second blow when Vivian announces her surprise engagement to Sean Dixon, someone Monica didn't even know existed, and travels to Gulf Shores for the engagement celebration. En route, she meets Clark Randall, Gross, who happens to be Sean's godfather at the airport, and an unexpected flirtation ignites. So that is what we have to look forward to talk about. I guess we'll be talking about it in May since it airs on the last day of April. But look out for some promotion of this new movie. I think it's finishing up filming probably this week. I think they're filming in Alabama.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what's next.
Yeah,
We'll be reporting back.
I've seen the pattern already. It's going to be at the end of the month. Just like
Stop it.
No, I knew somebody was going to say that. I was thinking the same thing.
Man, why they always got to put us at the end of the month?
I know. It just kind of makes you be like, okay, like just like an afterthought, right? At the end.
Or we could look at it like save the best for last.
Yeah, that's true. That's our choice, Bree. That's our choice, I guess. Okay.
Well, hopefully we have a winner.
I hope so. I hope this one will not be so heavy and that it will be more fun.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah. But I will say this, like anybody from like, from the Nashville Legacy, like we loved your guys' acting. We loved what you guys did with the film. This is not negative towards you as actors or anything. This is about what happened behind the scenes from the plane, the marketing, etc. You guys did a fantastic job with the script that you had and gave us the chemistry that we needed and delivered 100%.
Right, and even the script was great. I really think our whole issue was from before the movie even came out, we had a sour taste in there was lack of promotion, and the little bit of promotion that we did get had us thinking it was going to be one thing. So as a viewer, you go into it already kind of with that bias of like what you've watched on YouTube ahead of time. So I just think that I feel like whoever does promotion, marketing, or whatever, they did not do this movie justice. They did not really have people excited to watch it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I enjoyed this movie. My issues are just broader about diversity and promotion and marketing and how, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the concerns that I have expressed are a lot bigger than this movie, because I did enjoy it, and I feel bad that like this is the movie where we have to have this kind of conversation, but it's just come to a head. There's a lot that we hope to see improved upon.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
We just want the same advertising, the same marketing as our white counterparts.
Right.
That's all we ask. Not last minute, like we're a last afterthought, or we forgot that we have this movie in our lineup. No.
And the same variety of storytelling.
Yes.
Yes.
We think back to the holiday season. What was the movie? Three Wise, whatever that movie was.
Three Iron Man
yes, it was fantastic. Why couldn't we have one of those? Why can't we have one of those?
Right. Right. Like, where's the variety in the storytelling for these Black-centered films? I'm waiting for it, Yeah.
I'm going to keep working on them, y'all. I'm going to keep working on them.
Yes. And there's no writer released yet for this spring breakthrough, so we don't know the writer. Actually, I believe the director I read is actually the brother, or no, was he the brother who passed away in the movie Holiday
Yes.
Song? Okay, yes. Why is it right? Oh, shoot. I don't have his name in front of me. But it's the actor who played the brother who passed away.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like
yeah.
Awesome.
I remember him Wayne Exhale.
That's so awesome. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
He's the director. So I do know that. I saw that, but I don't know who the writer is. So we'll have to figure out when they put on IMDb. I'll definitely send it to our chat.
Hallmark, we will learn how to write a script if you need us to. Just hit us up,
Right.
okay?
We are begging. Can we talk to somebody? Anybody? We have thoughts. Please, please give us a
Actually, hold on. You guys
fluffy
have some
light
information. Let me
rom-com.
see. No, Michael, he's actually the director, but I'm not sure about the writer. He is the director.
Yeah, he's
but
the director. Yeah.
I'll take that. That's a win in my book.
That's something, yeah. And he's well, I guess he was
He
only
did a lot of movies too. So
yeah, he's in. I mean, he was in like Forrest Gump. He's been in different kinds of movies, and had lots of acting experience too. So I'm sure that'll bring something to his directing for sure. So let's see, where can people follow you, Bree?
I'm at Bree Unabashedly on Instagram and the Twitter.
Okay, Jazzman.
well, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram as Shreem16, SHREEM16.
And Dory.
You can find me at All the Feels Pod and at Dory Benford on Twitter.
All right, and you can find me at AWScott21 on Twitter and Instagram. And just make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast all over social media. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave us a rating and review. And if you're listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We also have a Patreon group that you can check out and join for as low as $2 a month, and a merch store with TeePublic, so make sure you check those out. And we will see you in early May.